Yay! Welcome to Three Conservative Gimps. We got a great show for you tonight. We will be covering a lot of topics. We are here to give you the information you need to make correct decision at the ballot box. So, little disclaimer tonight. Lloyd won't be joining us again this week because his wife Judy was in the hospital and they're letting her go home today. So he is taking, he's at the hospital picking her up. And as soon as they get home, they're going to go to sleep because he's been up since 7 a.m. 6 a.m. yesterday. So Lloyd and Judy, we're praying for you and glad to hear that you are on the mend and on the way home. So let's get the show going. Let's bring in the other gimp for the show. Let's bring in Charles Galuski. Welcome.
Hey, Art. Hey, everybody in the chat.
And by the way, happy birthday yesterday. Tomorrow is my birthday. So today I went out to lunch with my sister, my niece, and her husband. We went to Texas Roadhouse and I got a $50 gift certificate from Amazon. And as well, Charles got one as well. So wonderful. And I also got a bunch of kitchen stuff from my sister. She will be bringing them over to my apartment while I'm at work. So, and I want to thank all the folks that have been giving me birthday wishes over on Facebook. Thank you very much. So, let's get going. The big news going on is, hey, we're finally attacking the Houthis in Yemen, and so they're launching strikes against the sites where they've been launching drones, cruise missiles, and missiles from bases inside Yemen. So, Charles, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I was just catching up after you bump us offline, so to speak, for a little while until the intro. So I was catching up on that, and I was. It's so hard to find a reliable source for news, because when you do a Google search on something, it seems like everything out there comes from a leftist news source, CNN, ABC, MSN, blah, 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 blah. And then I found something by The Hill, and I think they try to be really centrist. So I was scanning through that, and what they said, what they're saying is that we're and I might agree with them. I have to do a little bit more research myself, but I might agree with them on this. And that is that we're focusing our attention in the wrong direction, because the Houthis are just, what's the word they use?
Proxies? Yes.
Yeah. They're just like one of the tentacles from Iran that's creating chaos. And and when it comes to that kind of thing, I'm going to mix metaphors here a little bit. It suddenly gets to be, like the 7-headed Hydra. You cut off one head and another one will come into its place.
Right.
So, and what we really need to do is to deal with to deal with the main body.
Right.
We need to deal with Iran directly somehow. Now, I've never been, a war eagle.
Right.
Myself, unless I really felt it was really necessary.
Right.
I was never necessarily a person that was always like peace at all costs, but it's like, hey, war is really serious business.
Hmm.
Let's not go there unless we absolutely really have to, unless there's no other alternative. But
Hmm.
so somehow so I would tend to agree with them that we need to deal with Iran directly
Right.
instead of farting around with all these other little
Like
agents of Iran.
Ukraine, maybe. Yeah. And
Well, I
yeah,
know
and
is Ukraine an agent of Iran?
no, I'm
No.
talking about the different wars that we're already involved, like Ukraine, and
Oh,
we're
okay.
involved
Oh,
in
all right. Okay,
Israel.
gotcha.
So that's what I'm talking about. And I agree with you. I think what we need to do is deal with Iran. And I think what we need to do is get back with sanctions, which should have never been lifted.
Exactly. Yep.
And really, what we should do is uh, mine the ports that they have. That I think they have some ports on the what is it? The Red Sea.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where all this
And,
nonsense is happening right now.
right, and also possibly do some drone or cruise missile strikes at their oil facilities. Start knocking out their refineries and cripple their economy to a point where, hey, they can't sustain giving money or weapons to
Yeah.
the Nazis. And once we do that and starve them and get them to
Well,
the
that could be easier said than done
right,
because we still don't know where the 85 billion in arms that we left behind in Afghanistan has wound up.
right,
Okay.
mm-hmm,
I mean, I'm sure that, and people were talking about this right away. I'm sure China has bought some of that stuff, but there's no reason for them to buy the whole 85 billion. They only need a few samples to find out the weaknesses
right,
in our combat tech,
yeah.
and so
Do
on and
some
so forth.
reverse engineering, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so where's the rest? Where's the rest of it? We already know that we already know that some of that stuff was used in the initial attack on Israel. We have evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the rest of it? So
Right.
even if we did do that, God only knows how much of that stuff Iran has.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
even if they had say like 25% of it, that's still $20 billion worth of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to
Yep.
be a lot that they can flood into the area, even if or they could sell it off, to other countries, other organizations, other terrorist organizations, or whatever, and act as a bit of a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we did employ sanctions again.
Right. And Ronnie, God bless America, makes a good point about uh, 20 years, 5 presidents, too many American lives, and trillions of taxpayer dollars that replace the Taliban with better equipped Taliban. Yeah. Uh, and also, Iran has, their allies with China and Russia, and so you kind of gotta walk that fine line and not have this spiral out of control and turn into possibly a
World
world
War III,
war.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so uh, before the show, I was talking to Charles, and I made the point where, wow, isn't that Joe Biden? He's kind of acting like a dictator, going not even using the War Powers Act. He just,
Yeah.
launched this attack, and here people are talking about uh, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he's a dictator. He's worse than Hitler. Yet Charles made the point where, hey, the 4 years he didn't even do anything remotely like a
Yeah.
dictator.
Yeah, he actually had more than ample opportunity, and well, I hate to say a righteous motive, but he legally could have really clamped down on everything that was going on in this country if he wanted to, and he didn't. So that should be evidence alone that Trump is not a dictator, and that kind of thing is not the kind of thing that we really need to be concerned about from him.
Right. And you brought up another point about sources. There's a YouTuber that I follow. His name is Ryan Macbeth, and he follows all of these conflicts around the world. He's a former military guy, and he pointed out how most, if not all, of these media outlets have less than 1% of their staff that has any military experience. And those that do have some military experience are not involved in, putting the news out. They're behind the scenes with technical stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's why the New York Times and other media, a lot of times they get it wrong in their reporting.
Well, yeah, we know that, again, there's ample evidence to show that most of these reporters don't do any research before they say anything.
Right.
And we also know that most of what's out there is out there to push an agenda.
Right. And the thing I like about Ryan is he points out a lot of this stuff and says, and he says, what's the likelihood of this happening? And then he goes through the scenarios and he breaks it down by not likely, least likely, or very likely. And he really does his homework and points out the glaring errors in some of the reporting. Like when they said that Israel bombed that hospital. Well, it turns out that they were launching missiles from that hospital. And
wasn't it that Israel didn't bomb the hospital at all? That it wasn't supposed to be some sort of an errant Palestinian missile or something?
Yeah, that's right. And he pointed it out in one of his articles where it was either an errant missile or a pre-detonation of some stored missiles or some propane that exploded there.
Sounds like somebody stroking their missile too hard.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
A little premature something going on there. Now, is his channel under his name, or does his?
Yes,
does he have
it's Ryan Macbeth, and he does have a Substack, so you can get a lot more material if you go to his Substack. So, because YouTube, the way it's set up, he can't really give a whole lot of detail because they'll clamp down on him and take his revenue away or shut down his channel. So
he ought to be out on Rumble,
right? And you know what? He may be on Rumble. I don't know, but he's a really good source. I've been following him for, I don't know, maybe a month or two, and he does a lot of shorts, and he does have some longer content that's maybe 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes at the most. So go check him out. He's got some good stuff there. And I mean, if you want to know what's really going on, and he also gives a lot of detail on disinformation. Like there was some reporting going on that there was a female Ukrainian pilot flying F-16s. Well, it turned out that somebody took a photo of a woman who was a female pilot who happened to be a contestant for Miss America. And what they did is they photoshopped a Ukrainian flag on her uniform. So, yeah, he points out a lot of disinformation out there because that's kind of his thing, is pointing out the disinformation that's going on out there in the media. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Ronnie says, what are your thoughts on Zuckerberg's underground getaway in Hawaii? I don't know anything about that. Do you, Charles?
I've heard about it. I heard a little bit about it. People are saying that that's not really a good place to have an underground hideaway.
Right.
And most of it seems to be sort of, I would hate to use the word open, but it's not like some secret underground bunker. Well, I mean, if we know about it, then it's obviously not a secret. And it's not some big labyrinthine thing which is underground. Most of it is, above ground.
Right.
But it wouldn't surprise me if part of that property was purchased, from what was on sale after the fire.
Right. So this was over in at Maui then.
I'm not sure. Let me quick check it.
I know that we do have some old military bunkers on Oahu, and he may have bought some of those and converted them into something. Ronnie says definitely purchased after the fire. Okay.
It was Kauai.
Kauai. Okay.
Apparently he's MSN has an article about it here, and the title is Mark Zuckerberg's football field sized facility has a doomsday bunker.
Oh, okay. And I've been to Kauai, beautiful island. And so if you ever go to the islands, that'd be one of the places you'd want to go. It's called the Emerald Island because it's the greenest of all the islands.
Yeah.
And it's got a canyon in there called Waimea Canyon that has beautiful waterfalls there. So go check that out. What else is going on? We got a primary coming up pretty quick up in Iowa. So be interesting to see if Iowa is going to try to keep Trump off the ballot, but I don't think they're gonna. But there have been some other states that have been contemplating not having Trump on the primary ballot.
Well, I think eventually the Supreme Court will probably have to step in or something.
Right. Well, there's going to be a hearing in February, and there's going to be, opening arguments and all that stuff. So they're ramping up because it's been expedited. So we'll hear something fairly quickly. So Andrew says the Pro Bowl is now going to be flag football, and pretty much has been kind of a flag football for many years. It just there's really no defense, and it just it's all for show, so that the Pro Bowl players don't get injured in a game that really doesn't mean anything other than, I think, the team that wins their conference gets to be the host for the Super Bowl. Wow, that was the Super Bowl the following year.
They're listening in.
Yeah. Ronnie, Judy is doing good. She is on her way home, and Lloyd he's been up for a long time. The last day, so he's going to be pretty tired when he gets Judy home from the hospital. So hopefully he'll join us next week, and we'll find out if he has a show tomorrow. So I'll probably know tomorrow afternoon if he's going to have a show. He usually sends me a link like 3 or 4 hours before the show, which is, oh, by the way, tomorrow for dinner, I'm going to have leftover prime rib that I had for lunch. Mm-hmm. It was delicious. Mm-hmm. So, oh, we got Christy dropped out of the race, and which is good. He said he was going to spend more time with his family at the Golden Corral. Mm-hmm. So that's good. It's whittling down. We got rid of Pence and Asa Hutchinson, and so I think it's pretty much down to DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. I kind of like Ramaswamy. I like a lot of things he says, but we had Thaddeus on last week, and he kind of thinks that he may be a plant, because I sort of been hearing a little bit about this guy a little over a year ago, and from what I understand, he was a CEO of a biotech company, but he's got some really good ideas of how we could get back to a government of the people instead of this huge bureaucracy with tentacles that just reach
into
into
everything they don't need to be involved with.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's what Trump was trying to do, but he listened to the wrong people, and they told him, no, you can't do that because of unions and stuff like that. But Ramaswamy pointed out that, he, instead of firing individuals, you could just lay off a bunch of people. And I mean, that's what Ronald Reagan did with PATCO when he got rid of those, what was it, air traffic controllers that decided they wanted to go on strike. So he fired them and broke that union. Excuse me. And was able to clear that up. And, Ramaswamy is talking about getting rid of about 75% of the bureaucracy. I'm like, oh, holy cow.
Well, that would be great. I just don't know how he would do it.
I know. And, but
heard people say that, most of these government bureaucracies are just, there because of an executive order or something. And all it would take is another executive order or pass a law in Congress or something, and you could just get rid of them.
Right. And also, a lot of it is redundancy, too.
Yeah.
And get rid of that. But then, if you think that government doesn't work right now, think of how it might get if there are fewer people. But who knows? Well, maybe it'll actually run better. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I had the words right on the tip of my tongue while you were talking.
Yeah.
We don't need government to run properly. We need people to run properly. We don't need government to work. Well, we do need government to work properly, but we need government to work properly by having people that work properly, that understand that they are supposed to be beholding and in service to
Mm-hmm.
the public.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you and me,
Mm-hmm.
even if they weren't voted into office, they're still there to
Mm-hmm.
serve us, not to serve their own political ends, not to serve some, corporate or industry. They're there to serve us. And that's
Right.
one of the things that has gone really haywire is
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, they the bureaucrats sort of look on the general populace as something to be controlled and managed and not
Mm-hmm.
served.
Yep.
You know,
That's true. And also, I was thinking of something else, and that went away too. But, well, and then there's some agencies that could be totally eliminated that we don't need. Like, I don't know,
IRS.
maybe education. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
Let the states deal with that, and also do away with these requirements that you have to have a certain amount of minorities to do these
Yes.
projects. Let's get back to meritocracy, to where we can get the best to do the work. And also, when you do this, then we can actually get Congress doing some work for a change, rather than
Yeah, that's
putting off a lot of this crap on their staff and all that stuff.
that's the thing I was trying to get at earlier, and I
Right.
sort of missed the ball on it a little bit. But I read recently where a lot of these bureaucracies were created by Congress to do
Mm-hmm.
the things that they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, and then that way it makes Congress more uh, relied
Well,
upon, not relied upon, but
well, then they actually have to do their job.
do their job and count every penny that's going into these projects, and be accountable to all these
Yes,
projects.
accountability and true transparency.
Mm-hmm. Also, another idea I just thought about was why the Democrats don't like the new majority leader, the Speaker of the House. That Mike Johnson lives paycheck to paycheck
I
because
think I had heard something like that. Yeah.
he does not own any stocks. He just has cash. And you know what? Maybe that's the way Congress should run, because it shouldn't, being a servant for, a civil servant shouldn't be a money making scheme.
Right. Right.
It should be more of, hey, this is your service to the community, to the country,
Right.
the state, so forth. It shouldn't be where, hey, I'll vote on this bill that will funnel money into this corporation, and then I could turn around and buy the stock in that company and make a buttload of money on that.
And then this other particular company will fund my campaign.
Right. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi. You know what? Her stock portfolio grew by 65% in the last few years. I mean, holy cow. My governor, former Congressman Jared Polis, when he sold his e-greeting card company, he had $30 million. You know how much he's worth now? He's worth over $300 million.
Yeah.
He's probably closer to $500 million by now because he was voting on insurance companies. You know, he would vote on a particular bill that would grant money or grant a project to an insurance company, healthcare company. And they would turn around and start buying stock in that company because that company's stock started going up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he became wealthy. And that's how he was able to buy every seat that he's had since he, sold his company. I mean, he started off on the state school board, bought that seat. Then there was an opening for what was? He was a state rep out of Boulder. Bought that seat, because he was so wealthy, self-funded. He was able to, push away any competitor or rival. And then there was an opening for Congress, and he decided, hey, I'll buy that seat. And he did. And he served, I think, 3, 4, maybe 5 terms. And hey, there's an opening for governor. So he decided, hey, I'll run for governor. And so he bought that seat. He outspent his Republican rival by 5-1.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. He spent something like $30 million on his the first campaign, while the Republican was only able to spend 5, maybe $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's turned the state into a, sorry to say it, shithole. And that's why I want to get the hell out of here, because now the Democrats control both chambers of the legislature. They own the state Supreme Court, as you could see, where they came up with that stupid decision to take Trump off the primary ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, here's the deal. Here in Colorado, we have what's called the Taxpayers Bill of Rights, to where if the state government has more money than they have at the end of the year, it's supposed to be returned to the taxpayers. Well, the Democrats hated that idea, and they've been trying to get rid of it for years. So what they did is, their liberal friends on the state Supreme Court, because they can't, if they want to raise your taxes, they have to put it on the ballot for the voters, and it gets defeated every time. So what they did to get around this is they started to call them fees.
Mm-hmm.
So they started tacking on these fees on just about everything, from like car registration to, I don't know, your cable bill or your phone bill. I mean, just about everything. They were calling it a fee. And they kept saying, this is to fund education. And you know what they did? The lottery was supposed to fund education. And hello, Steve, good to see you. And now they're saying, sales of marijuana, recreation marijuana, that's going to help with schools. Yet the schools keep getting underfunded every flipping year. There's never enough money for the school.
And then your property taxes go up.
Yep. property taxes go up, and oh man. So that's how they get around stuff like that, and that's why this state is going to hell, because we got DAs that have been pretty much backed by George Soros.
Mhm.
That
Same thing in New York.
That do these PR bonds where they don't have to pay a bond or have a bond. They just get out, and it's like a revolving door where these guys get caught. It's catch and release, release, and you wonder why crime has gone up, like auto thefts. I mean, Colorado once led the nation in auto thefts, and now I think it dropped down to, like, I don't know, third or fifth place now. So, oh wow, big improvement. Yeah, right. So that's why it pays to have a crappy looking car. 20 plus year old car. Then nobody will say, why would I want to steal that piece of shit? Yeah, there you go. Get yourself, and stay away from cars that are most stolen. Like, I don't know, Kias and the Hondas. Honda Civics, for some reason, happen to be
they're
stolen.
excellent cars.
Yeah. Well, because what they do is a lot of these guys, they like to do illegal street races, and they soup them up and all that stuff. So that's why I'm looking forward to moving to the Philippines in hopefully 2 years. That's the goal right now. Mm-hmm. So, and I feel sorry for you, Charles. You lived in that state pretty much all your life and watched it just go to hell. Yeah. But you're in an area where it's pretty rural, and hopefully you're somewhat insulated from this insanity.
Well, yes and no. I think I may have pointed out on this show before that the high school, the central school that I attended as a child, is allowing. They actually have like litter boxes in the bathrooms.
Oh my!
Where kids who identify as animals can go and relieve themselves. And then, of course, then who deals with that? The janitors have to deal with that, in addition to all the rest of the stuff that happens in a school.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I just found out that we just found out about that this past year.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. And so hopefully this election cycle, maybe we could, start getting the country kind of pointed back in the right direction. That enough people are saying,
I hope so.
No, we're tired of this insanity and shit, and turn this around. And I mean, although I agree with a lot of what Trump did, it's just I'm kind of worried about is BLM going to be resurgent, or Antifa? I mean, are we going to see some more rioting in big cities again? I'm like, that kind of concerns me. Although he'd be a lame duck, but if he has control of the House and the Senate, he could fiscally turn things around and hopefully get to sound spending to where he could get to where, okay, we're going to freeze spending and freeze it at a level to where, we're not going to do anything beyond this point for X amount of years, and try to get the the budget balance.
Mm-hmm.
Get to where we can start chopping away at this deficit, because we did this once back almost 40 years, or not 40 years ago, but at least 30 years ago, during the Clinton administration, when we were able to get him to sign the welfare reform and got a balanced budget back then. We don't even try to do that anymore. We just keep kicking the can down the road with these CRs every year or every twice a year, and then our deficit balloons more and more and more, and try not to make it competition. Hey, who could outspend the last guy? Yeah.
Well, I don't know that the deficit is the problem in so much as the debt.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 trillion, 30 plus trillion in debt and rising literally every second.
Mm-hmm.
That would take, I mean, to even make a dent in that, we would have, I don't even see how we could make a dent in that, because we would, even considering a huge organization, like as I've mentioned before, BlackRock with 9 trillion in assets, we'd have to seize all those assets. The problem is that 9 trillion in assets is everybody's IRA accounts,
right?
And 401ks and all that kinds of stuff, and all the money that they have invested in, like Apple and Disney and all these other companies. We'd have to be able to go grab all of that, and even that would only pay for 30% of the debt that's out there.
Right.
And I don't even know how legally we could do. I have no idea how that could be done.
Right.
I'm just because I know these numbers. I'm just throwing this stuff out there because I know the numbers, and I can say, oh, if we took everything that they had there,
right,
it would only, reduce the debt by X amount of dollars, just by so much.
Yep.
And then we're back to the idea that, that people were talking about at the beginning of like the BLM riots and all that other stuff. Bringing down the rich doesn't really help the poor.
Right. Yep. And Andrew makes a good point. Pork. And it's like, the other what we need are like, president needs a line item veto.
Yes.
Where he needs to use that to strike out the pork out of bills, and also make it, excuse me, to where that the bills that come, before the president, it shouldn't have a whole bunch of gobbledygook thrown in there. It's got to be the main component. It has to be about that main component.
Right.
Yeah. And it can't be like, oh, well, hey, Senator Farnsworth, if you, back my bill to do the study of the snail darter, I will back your bill to build a bridge to nowhere. That kind of shit. It's just crazy.
I know.
What was this?
Earlier, did you see earlier, Ronnie said, no, I will not look at Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, yeah, Steve makes a good point. They attack people waiting in line to see a liberal. Oh, wow. Michael Rappaport. Wow. Yeah, that's right, Steve. One bill. Yeah, one vote. Yep. But, the thing to get bills through Congress is that this goes all the way back to Andrew Jackson, the term horse trading. You know, like I said before, hey, if you support my bill, I'll support your bill to do X, Y, and Z, and blah, blah, blah. And we need to start either stopping it or cutting it way back to where you can't just let it get all out of hand, so to speak. And it happens all the way down to city councils,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of politics. And then when you go to countries like Russia, to where you just have outright bribery going on there. Yes, good point, Ronnie. Term limits would be not only for people running for office. It should be term limits for people working for the bureaucracy in government. Then that way you'd have a turnover to where you don't have this huge bureaucracy going. Yeah.
I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about something, and
Okay.
folks might think I'm a little bit crazy here.
Ooh,
so what else is new? But I read a book once a long time ago.
Oh.
It was a science fiction book. It was a Star Trek book, and it was called Spock's World. Now, it's not considered canon in the Star Trek universe as far as I know, but they had some good ideas in there. And this is supposedly how government was run on Vulcan. And it really impressed me as being a good way to do it here. Because the way it worked is there were no elections. People would be chosen sort of at random for different government positions, but you'd have to have some amount of expertise in whatever job you were being chosen for. You'd work that job for a length of time. I don't remember if it was 5 years or 15 years or whatever it was in the book. I think it was probably 5 years. While you were doing that, your regular normal 9-to-5 job would be held for you. When you got done with that, you'd go back to doing your regular job, and somebody else new would be picked. And so that eliminates all this, corporate, money in government, all cronyism, because people are kind of pretty much picked at random. All you have to do is be competent to do that job by having some amount of expertise or education in that job. So in other words, they wouldn't take somebody who was a farmer on Vulcan and make him, like their equivalent of like the Surgeon General. Even if his name came up, they'd go, well, you're a farmer. We really need a doctor. So let's randomly choose again. And on a planet with billions of people, it's really easy to come up with an alternative for a particular slot. And once you've done that, it was almost like jury duty. You do it, that's it for the rest of your life. And I know we really cherish our democracy here, one man, one vote, so that your voice gets heard. But the way we're doing it, our voices aren't getting heard. So it's like, let's, it's just like it says in the Constitution, and I'm paraphrasing, or not the Constitution, I think it was the Declaration of Independence. When a particular form of government goes sour, we as the governed have the right to change what that government is.
Hey, we got Jalen Charita
and we got
chat.
Steve Carpenter in the chat.
I saw Steve. Yep, I highlighted some of his comments. Oh, and by the way, Jalen, I was over on their channel last night, and overnight my art co has grown by over 100 subscribers, which
Ding,
is
ding, 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 ding.
Yep, ding, ding, ding. Thank you, Jalen. Hopefully you could do the same for this channel. Although we're pretty close to 500, I just need the watch hours, and that's the thing here. If I get the watch hours here,
Yeah.
then I could get finally monetized at 500 subscribers and start making some money here. And by the way, Artco for the month of January is going to be a banner month, starting off the year with a bang, which is really good. So, where December turned out to be a lump of coal. So, so it's nice that we can have a nice turnaround, but it just seems to be cyclical. That I've noticed in YouTube, to where you'll start off the year really strong, and then it'll slowly start, the revenues start dropping off, and then summertime, a lot of people are doing outdoor stuff, and so you're not getting a lot of the views, and so your revenue starts dropping off until fall, and then starts picking up again. Mm-hmm. Ronnie has a good point that where reputable veterans would come in handy. Someone has stood up for our country instead against, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, wow. An hour is just flying by. So we covered a lot today. I just came up with some good topics, and we were able
I think we can honestly say that we had a good show.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We had a pretty good crowd, and we're averaging about 10 or 11 views during the, people coming in and being in the chat. We see the same people, although we're missing someone. And Charles just was it you that just pointed out that what was it? Mike B, aka the Drone Ranger, is no longer with us. Sadly, passed away.
I thought it was Lloyd that told us the other night.
Oh yes, that's right. That was Lloyd. Yeah, that was on his show last Monday that we found out. And I'm like, oh, and then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I haven't been seeing him in the chats, especially on Sundays. So, yeah, he will be greatly missed. So,
yeah, he was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I used to see him at all the different live streams. So, great supporter, and yeah. So, anywho, I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming. We got a little over a minute that we could say a few things. You got anything to add, Charles?
I may have about 20 minutes ago, but I don't remember what it was anymore. So I'm just going to say no in the last 30 seconds of the program.
So next week we'll have some good stuff to talk about. I mean, we're coming into that political season where next month we're going to have our first caucus, which will pretty much kind of give us an idea of how the primaries are going to start shaping up to be. I think it's going to get whittled down to those three. I think Nikki Haley is going to be number 2, and hopefully Vivek Ramaswamy could stick around, because he's got some great ideas, and if he could hang in there, and his ideas, he's not running to be the number 2 guy. he's really wanting to be the nominee. So, hey, this will make the process that much interesting. So, everybody in the chat, thank you for coming. Jalen, always great to see you. You have a good morning over there in the Philippines. By the way, my girlfriend starts school today. So,
Cool.
everybody, have a great weekend. God bless you, and see you all next week. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, folks. See you next week.